Okay, so we are going to learn how to solve quadratic equations of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So we're going to use the following steps, and again we're going to be solving these equations by factoring. Before we solve the equation by factoring, we need to make sure that we write the equation in standard form. We are going to factor the trinomial, the resulting trinomial, and then we're going to use the zero product principle to get the factors. Okay, so let's start with an example. And the example that I would like to work is x squared plus 2x equals 8. Now, this equation is not written in a standard form. In a standard form, you have to have a 0 on the right side of the equal sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. Okay, I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides to get my 0 on the right side. Okay, so now I did my first step, which is I wrote the equation in standard form. Now I need to factor this trinomial. Well, that is easy. To factor this trinomial, yes, I'm going to need two numbers that multiply give me negative 8. So because it's negative, I'm going to have a positive and a negative. And added those two numbers give me 2. Now, 8 can be decomposed, so can be factored into 8 and 1 and 4 and 2, correct? So if I want to get numbers with different sign that give me positive 2, maybe I can get positive 4 and negative 2. Let's try. Positive 4 and negative 2, 4 minus 2 gives me 2, and 4 times negative 2 gives me negative 8. So I think I get it, right? So I have factored the trinomial. Now I'm going to have to use the zero product principle. Okay, so the zero product principle or the zero product property, it tells me that the product, if the product of two factors is equal to 0, is because one of them is 0 or both of them are 0. So my solutions will be either this is 0 or this is 0, right? So for this to be 0, subtract 4 on both sides. I get x equals negative 4. If for me here to get a 0, that I have to add 2 on both sides, x equals 2. So the solutions for these equations are x equals negative 4, x equals 2. Let's do another example. Let's do 5x squared is equals 20. Okay, first thing I need to do is write this in a standard form. So I need to get here, I need to get a 0, correct? So for me to get a 0, I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides. Yes, now I'm going to factor this trinomial. This happens to be a binomial and happens to be a binomial that is very difficult to factor because neither one of these two numbers are perfect. So what if I think about factoring? Let me think about factoring or getting a common factor. This is always the first thing you gotta try. Try to get a common factor. So we get x squared minus 4, right? So 20 divided by 5 is 4. So now I get this binomial and I know how to factor that binomial. That binomial can be factored into x minus and x plus. The square root of 4 is 2, so it's going to be x minus 2 and x plus 2. Okay, now I have a factor. Now let me use the zero product property. So I will have that the answer will be either this is 0. This cannot be 0, okay? This number cannot be 0. This is a constant. So the only numbers that can be 0 are this and that, okay? So we have x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. So if x minus 2 is equal to 0, add 2 on both sides, x equals 2. if x plus 2 is equal to 0, x equals negative 2. Okay? Let me do another example so we see how we do. Let's do, I'm going to list my examples here. And I'm going to start with this real example, x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. That is easy. I don't need to worry about writing in standard form because it's already written in standard form. So all I need to do is to factor. X and x, I have a 4, is negative, so it's a positive and a negative, okay? Remember that once you see the negative, you know that it's a positive and a negative. Now, factors of 4 that add to be positive 3. What if we take positive 4 and negative 1? Right? 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So I have a factor. Let me get my answers. X plus 4 equals 0. That means x is negative 4. That's my first answer. X minus 1 equals 0. This means x equals 1. That's my second answer. Okay? Let me do a second example. X squared minus 4x equals 5. I'm going to write this in standard form. So subtract 5. Now that I have it written in standard form, I'm going to factor x and x. This number is negative, so it's a positive and a negative. Factors of 5 that give me negative 4. What if you do negative 5 and positive 1? Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Excellent. So the answer is x plus 1 is equal to 0, means x is negative 1, or x minus 5 equals 0, that means x is equals 5. Okay? So let's do a couple of more examples. So we have my third example. My third example is t squared minus 4 is equals to 3t. Is this equation written in a standard form? No. So I need to write it in a standard form. Let me subtract 3t, and I'm going to put the 3t right here in the middle. Okay? Because this equation here has to be written in a standard form. So means that this is the highest exponent, right? Then comes the t to the 1 and then t to the 0, which is not here. In a standard form, it has to be 2t to the second, t, and the constant. Okay? All right, so now that I have it, let me factor. I have a t and a t. This number is a negative, so it's a positive and a negative. Factors of 4 that give me negative 3. What about negative 4 and positive 1? So we have a negative 4 and positive 1 gives me negative 3, and if I multiply, I get negative 4. So the answer is t plus 1 equals 0, t is negative 1, t minus 4 equals 0, t is equals 4. Okay, let's have another example. We have x squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. This is written in a standard form, so I don't have to worry too much about it. All I need to do is to factor. This number is negative, so it's positive and negative. Factors of 7. 7 is a prime number, so it's 7 and 1, right? So what if we take positive 7 and negative 1? Then we get the 6. So the answers are x plus 7 equals 0, which it means x negative 7, x equals to negative 7. X minus 1 equals 0, which means x equals 1. Our very last example, we have w squared, this is example number 5, w squared minus 49 equals 0. Okay? Well, it's written in a standard form. I don't need to rewrite it. So all now I need to do is to factor. Remember that this is a binomial, and checking 49, I know the square root of 49 is 7. In other words, 7 squared is 49. So I can decompose this in w minus 7 times w plus 7. So the solutions are w minus 7 equals 0, means w equals 7. W plus 7 equals 0, that means w equals to negative 7.